All right, looks like we're officially recording. Fantastic. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm Katie Lance, founder and CEO of Katie Lance Consulting and the Get Social Smart Academy. And I am thrilled to be back. We've done many webinars with Northwest Mississippi Realtors in the past, and I'm excited to be back. Happy New Year. I think we can still say that, even though we're in February. We're going to be talking today all about how to go from invisible to irresistible, how to stand out and get noticed and become the go-to choice. You know, there's a sea of sameness out there. So we're excited to dig in. We're going to have some great conversations about content and social media and AI. We're going to talk about what's working, what's not working, give you lots of ideas. As always, if you've been to any of my classes before, feel free to take notes. Feel free to take pictures, take out your phone, take pictures of the screen. It looks like everything's being recorded, which is awesome. And if you have questions, it looks like everyone's muted, which is great, just to kind of keep it simple. But if you have questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions as we go through our time here together today. Also, would love to connect with you on social. I'm at Katie Lance, basically everywhere on social. So would love if you give me a follow and also message me. I absolutely love when I get messages from folks who've attended my trainings. Just message me and say, hey, I was in your class. Hey, I was watching you today, and then I can follow you back and would love to connect with you. All right, so let's dig into it. As I mentioned, I'm Katie Lance. I'm the founder and CEO of Katie Lance Consulting and the Get Social Smart Academy. I'm author of the book Get Social Smart. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm a speaker. My husband and I have been married 24 years. We've been in business together 13 years. We have two teenage boys who keep us very busy. And at the end of the day, I am a really big believer when it comes to social media and content and everything related to technology. As great as all of it is, it's not the end all and be all, and it's not the silver bullet. When done right, it can really make a big difference in your business. But really, I think our most precious asset is time. And I feel this very deeply as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner. I just think time is our most precious asset. So, as we talk today about going from invisible to irresistible, I want to give you a lot of tips and tools and ideas that are going to help you save time because I don't think any agent should spend hours creating a reel or TikTok or anything like that. So, we're going to have a lot of fun today. I do have my QR code up there that'll take you to my Instagram. So, again, if you've got your phone out, if you're driving, don't do this. But if you're at your desk or your office, feel free to scan that, give me a follow, and would love to connect with you guys. All right, so I want to kind of start off with a little bit of a story. I am out on the West Coast. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we are a huge Disney family. I would be curious to know if any of you are big Disney people. I know you're on the East Coast, so maybe Disney World is more of your choice. But let me know in the chat if you are a Disney person. We have been a Disney family for quite some time. And if you've ever been to a Disney property, you know there's nothing like walking down Main Street, getting to the end of Main Street, you've got the castle behind you. You're kind of at the hub, right? You're at the hub of Disney. You've got, one land to your right and one land to your left, and there's just nothing like it. And, it's interesting. The reason why I'm telling the story today is because when Walt Disney created Disneyland, his first park, obviously, his greatest masterpiece, uh, at the time, there were thousands of parks. There were thousands of amusement parks that were out there. But most of them were pretty dirty and a lot of them were run down. A lot of them were really mediocre. And Walt Disney famously said, their mediocrity is my opportunity. Their mediocrity is my opportunity. And when I think about the world of real estate and all the agents, the millions of agents that are out there, especially in the US, who are posting content, a lot of stuff is great, but there's also a lot of mediocrity, right? And so their mediocrity is also your opportunity. I would also say too, I have a lot of folks who say things to me like, I'm too old or it's too late. Let me just be the first to say, if no one has said this to you recently, you're not too old and it's not too late, right? You're not too old and it's not too late. There's so much opportunity, right? Which is really, really exciting. So let's dig into what we're talking about here today. We are talking about how to go from invisible to irresistible. We're talking about how to stand out in a sea of sameness. And when I think of an ocean and I think of the lighthouse is like the beacon, right? The beacon calling ships in. And I would encourage you as you think about your own marketing, how can you be a beacon? How can you stand out in a sea of sameness? And hopefully today by the end, you'll have lots of tips and ideas as well. So the hard truth, the reality, as a lot of you know, if you've been in real estate a long time, is most realtors are invisible, or many realtors are invisible. They're posting the same thing the same way. They're blending into the noise, right? We see this all the time. Every time the clocks change, or we have to, reset our, smoke detectors, or there's a holiday, we see kind of the same old, same old. We see the stock photo of the realtor with the pumpkins or the Christmas trees, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's not very memorable, right? And I think especially nowadays with the amount of noise that's out there on social media, we have to stand out, right? If you've been on social media a long time, I know for me, I've been on Facebook quite a long time. There was actually a point in on Facebook many years ago, probably about 10 years ago on Facebook, where you could scroll Facebook, and I remember there was actually a point where it would say, "That's it, you've caught up." You've seen everything. And I don't know about you, but I can't imagine seeing that today, right? And so social media today is obviously so much different than it was just 5 or 10 years ago. And so what we want to talk about today is really kind of a three-part framework. I call this the three C's to go from invisible to irresistible. And I would actually love to know, those of you watching live, how long have you been in real estate? Will you just type in the chat, how long have you been in real estate? Have you been in real estate? Are you brand new? Are you newly licensed? Are you, have you been in real estate, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? Let me know in the chat. And hopefully the chat's open. I think it is. But there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious how long all of you have been in real estate, those of you watching live. Again, if you're driving, don't type in the chat. Okay, I see 2.5 years, 13 years, 12, 4, 20. Brenda says 40. Shout out, Brenda. That's awesome. 26, 6 years. Sandy Lane, 33 years. That's awesome. Jamie, 25, 9. So a little bit all over the map, okay? Which is kind of what I expected. And I just asked that because if you've been in real estate 5 minutes, 5 years, 5 decades, you have seen a lot, right? You've seen a lot when it comes to marketing. And so when we think about this 3C framework, whether you've been in real estate a few months, a few weeks, a few years, a few decades, this is going to help you out tremendously. Michelle says 1.5 years, but full time for 6 months. Ah, fantastic. Jamie says 25. Lorda says 5. Fantastic. Love it. So the first C in our framework is clarity. Know your story, know your niche, and know your voice. And I realize this is a little bit of a cliche. We hear people say this all the time, like, know who your niche is, know who your voice is. But if I were to have any kind of prediction for 2026, in terms of content, one of the things we're seeing is the agents and brokers that are getting business from social media, they're really leaning into who they are and who they're not. I have a good friend who often says, she says, I know I may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I might be somebody's shot of tequila. I realize it's a little early for tequila, but you may not be everyone's cup of tea. You might be someone's shot of tequila. And I think that's a really powerful thing. I think nowadays we're really afraid of saying the wrong thing. We don't want to, be polarizing, but there's nothing wrong with really leaning into your niche. And when I mean niche, I mean a specific neighborhood, a specific type of person that you love to work with, but also your own niche because you are more than just a real estate agent. For me, I love a great cup of coffee. If you follow me on Instagram, every morning I post my coffee cup because I've got a huge collection. I'm a Disney person, as I mentioned in the beginning. Love talking about that. I love Broadway. You might be able to see my little Hamilton sign behind me. And so when we think about who we are, we don't have to necessarily share everything, that every private moment, but we do business with people we know, like, and trust and relate to. And so having a balance between things that we're excited about, our personal niches, but also our niche in business makes a big difference. And one quick tip I would give you when it comes to thinking of who you want to work with, I would encourage you, if you haven't done this in a while, or maybe you've never done this, is to think about, who do you love to work with? Like, if you were to think about last year, if you were to think about everyone you've worked with in the last 6 or 12 months, who are the people you worked with that you think to yourself, oh my gosh, that person was awesome. I loved working with so and so, or I loved working with that family. Alternatively, who are the people that maybe weren't your cup of tea, right? When you can get really, really clear on who you want to work with, that is going to make a huge difference in how you show up and how you come across on camera and the words that you say in everything. And your brand is so much more than a logo or the colors on your website, right? It's how you're coming across. So that this is kind of first and foremost, know your story, know your niche, know your voice. And when we think about content itself, it's really important that you show up now more than ever before. I really encourage you to diversify your content with content pillars. And I have 5 pillars on the screen here. Feel free to take a picture of this if you'd like. The mistake a lot of agents make when it comes to content is a lot of the content that I still see on realtors' Facebook and Instagram and any of their social media channels. A lot of times it's mainly just listed, just sold, open houses, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that is all promotional content. So we want to make sure we're layering content with things like people, places, things, events, and stories. So people might be client stories or people who have impacted you, people in your community, why you love where you live, the best place to grab a cup of coffee, best place to grab a slice of pie, the home you grew up in, what's that story? The best thing about real estate, the thing you tell every client, the most important thing when your home is on the market. Can't miss events every year. The event that sparked you getting into real estate, which, by the way, a few of you mentioned that you are brand new or newer to real estate. I would love to hear your story online. What's your story
Just
of
offhand, what size screw?
oops, we could mute. That would be great. Thank you. Um, so what's your event that sparked you getting into real estate? Stories of your first listing, your first client, how you got into real estate. You have on the screen here about 15 ideas. These could literally be your next 15 posts, your next 15 videos. And by the way, I am going to talk a lot about video. And if I can be honest, I know the elephant in the room when it comes to getting on camera for a lot of us. If I can be real, a lot of us don't like how we look. We don't like how we sound. We don't know how to do it right, so then we don't do it. And I've shared this here before, but many years ago, I had a very dear friend of mine who very lovingly said, she said, Katie, that's how you look. And that's how you sound. So you got to get over it. So I will lovingly tell you the same thing because, especially now in 2026, I want to hear you and I want to see you. I know AI is great, but I don't want to see the AI version of you. I want to see you. And I know that might be a little controversial to say. Again, I think AI is great. I'm going to share some of my favorite AI tools. But nowadays, that know, like, and trust factor, I think, is more important than ever before. And often when I go to an agent's Facebook or Instagram, you know what's really missing? Often the thing that's missing the most is them. I have no idea what they sound like or what they stand for or what they're all about. So super important, right? To stand out and to go from invisible to irresistible. So that's the first C is clarity, right? Clarity in your voice, clarity in who you are. And the second, probably not surprising, if you've been in real estate a long time, if you've done any kind of marketing, it's always about consistency. We know this with any marketing, right? Whether we're doing door knocking or phone calls or handwritten notes or any marketing, it's all about consistency. Consistency builds familiarity, it builds trust, right? And there's just something about seeing somebody show up week in and week out, day in and day out. Now, the good news with social media in 2026 is you don't have to post every single day. You don't have to post 12 times a day, but you want to get yourself into a consistent rhythm. I find for most agents that if you can pick a day or two that you're going to post and you have it on your calendar, just like anything else, it's more likely going to happen. So if every Tuesday is going to be Tip Tuesday where you share a tip, put it on your calendar until it becomes a habit. It should really be on your calendar just like any other lead generating activity. Otherwise, it tends to not happen. So, I want to go through some tips on how to be consistent. And one of the biggest ways that we have found agents get really consistent is they think about having one big idea every single month. So we teach this a lot inside of our Get Social Smart Academy. We work with thousands of agents all over North America, and we help them map out their editorial calendar. And one of the ways to do that, because it's kind of daunting to sit down and like map out a whole, calendar of content, is I encourage people to think about, can you have one big idea every month? And this was inspired from looking at how a lot of media companies structure their marketing or structure their content. If you were to look at any big media organization, Good Morning America, the New York Times, like whatever media you're watching, if you were to Google them, most likely they have an editorial calendar where in the month of February, this is the theme. In the month of March, this is the theme. In the month of April, this is the theme. And they have a theme for each month. Now, what that means is a lot of their content and articles and videos is around that video or around that topic. Now, if breaking news happens, they're still going to talk about breaking news. They're still going to talk about whatever else is happening. But by having a theme, it helps them put out a lot of content. And I have found, especially in real estate, you're someone who's probably wearing 20 different hats. Social media and content is just one small piece of everything you're doing. So if you can have one theme a month, what this means is you can actually sit down and create a lot of content in one sitting instead of like, oh, I got to do a video. Oh, I should do a video. Oh, maybe I should post something. What we have found is if agents can set aside an hour or two once a month to batch create a lot of content, that is going to save you so much time and you're giving your future self the gift of content. Now, batching content, if you've never done this before, it's basically the idea of sitting down and recording a number of videos all in one batch. You're not posting them all right away, but you're sitting down and recording, 4 or 5, however many. You might put them in an album on your phone or a folder in your phone or on your computer, and then you've got them ready to go. I've done this for years and I started doing this years ago because I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do my hair and makeup and record one video, I might as well record like 4 or 5. And so this is where this idea came from. Now, if we go back to having one big idea a month, out of that one big idea, we can create a lot of content. So I just want to give you an example of some of the things we do when we think of one big idea. So for us, because we are a social media company and we serve the real estate industry, we're putting out a lot of content, okay? Probably more content than the average realtor. But I just want to give you an example of what it looks like for us, and then I'm going to give you an example of what this would look like for a realtor. So if you've got one big idea a month, right? That one big idea could get turned into 3 or 4 long form YouTube videos, right? Maybe those are longer YouTube videos. Those could get chopped up into smaller reels or TikToks or Facebook reels or YouTube shorts. Those videos can get shared to your stories, your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, because not everybody sees your videos in the feed. We also do a number of live trainings. So out of this big idea, we have 4 in-depth live trainings that we do for our paying members, our Get Social Smart Academy members. I also have a podcast. We do a masterclass. We also have some email marketing that happens in here. And so it's not just one video, it's a lot of content. It's one big idea turned into 10 or 20 pieces of content each month. And the reason why this is able to happen is because we're repurposing a lot of content. That video that I do that's over on YouTube, that's a great idea for something that I'll do a longer form video about or a longer form training on. I can transcribe some of that content and get that turned into blog content or email content. I can use ChatGPT to help restructure some content or to come up with ideas. And the reality is that people don't see all your content, right? It just doesn't happen. Even the people who love you the most, your biggest fans, do not see everything. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be everywhere. You don't have to be on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn and, 27 different platforms. I do recommend as an agent, you pick 1 or 2 platforms that you enjoy being on and that your clients are on as well. So let's talk about what this looks like for real estate. So if you've got one big idea every single month, basically what this breaks down to is 12 big ideas throughout the year. Now I realize we're hosting this class in February, but stick with me. Okay, this could go into 2027. So I have on the screen here 12 ideas that you can steal, that you can use if you'd like. They are pretty generic. So as you read through this list, there's going to be some that you like, and then there's going to probably be some where you're like, I would never talk about that. And that's fine. This is meant to be kind of a generic list. I do have a QR code on the screen here. If you scan that, that'll take you to katielance.com/content grid. Scan that, put your name and email in, and this is going to send you my free content grid, which is going to give you another like 20 or 30 ideas, in addition to like a bunch of tips and things like that. It'll go straight to your phone, but it'll also get emailed to you. So download that if you can. I'll share the link at the end also, just so you guys have that. But that's a great addition to everything I'm talking about here today. So if we look at this list, this is one idea for every single month. And when we teach this in our Get Social Smart Academy, one of the things that I always say is, look, you can have one big idea every single month, or you could just pick a couple ideas and repeat those ideas, right? Like if you just want to have 2 or 3 ideas and then you rinse and repeat, you could do that as well. So it kind of depends on who you want to serve, who your niche is, right? Who do you want to work with, like we talked about earlier. And so as we look at this list, we've got market trends and updates, home staging, neighborhood spotlights, home renovation tips, selling your home, luxury real estate, green homes and sustainability, myths, moving tips and tricks, real estate tech, client success stories, first-time home buyers. So again, what I would do if I were you, I would take a picture of this first of all, and then think about which of these topics make sense for you, which ones maybe don't make as much sense, and really think about having a big idea each and every month. So let's say, for example, just for the sake of this webinar, you pick first-time homebuyers as your theme for next month. Okay, I realize we're in February, so let's think ahead to March. So maybe first-time homebuyers is your theme. Maybe you love working with first-time homebuyers. If you don't like working with first-time homebuyers, this may not be your theme, but let's just use this as an example. So if that's your theme for the month and you set aside an hour or so here, it oops, you guys mind muting? Sorry. Thank you. Just makes it easier. Okay. So let's say March is your theme for first-time homebuyers. So if we think ahead, okay, we're in the, kind of middle of February. That means if we're going to batch some content, we need to do that before the end of the month. And this is part of the whole strategy of like thinking ahead. So if I were an agent, what I would do in the next week or two is set aside an hour or two where I'm going to sit down. And by the way, when it comes to content, I'm all about keeping it simple, right? I record 99.9% of my content on my phone. You don't need a whole fancy setup. And for a lot of your content, it can be quick. It could be 30-second videos, 60-second videos. You could certainly do longer content, as you see on the screen here. If you're more advanced, you might sit down and record longer form YouTube videos, right? You might have a few 3, 4, 5 minute YouTube videos where you really dig into a specific topic. And out of those longer form videos, you can chop those up and turn those into reels and share them to your story and do a live stream and do a podcast and do a webinar. You don't necessarily need to do all of this. But the nice part about having a theme is that it makes all of this content so much easier to create, right? So for example, if I were to sit down for an hour or two and create 3 or 4 longer form YouTube videos, and those YouTube videos are say 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, well, the nice part about that is YouTube is owned by Google. When you get Googled, first of all, AI pops up, right? There's sort of like that AI search result that comes up. You are more likely to get shown in that AI search result if your content is on YouTube. You're also going to have a longer shelf life. I still have people watching my YouTube videos that I posted 3 years ago, which is crazy. That doesn't happen anywhere else. Not that everyone has to be on YouTube, but for those of you a little bit more advanced, there's a lot of benefits to being on YouTube. You can also take longer form videos and chop them up. I'm going to actually share in a minute a couple of my favorite apps for doing this because I create and edit all my own content. I don't have a team. It's just me and my husband. So there's a lot of great AI tools that will do this quickly and easily. I said this in the very beginning. I don't think anyone should spend 2 hours making a piece of content. So there's a lot of ways you can do this quickly and easily. Out of those videos, share those to your stories. At a minimum, if you're putting out video content, always share them to your stories because not everybody sees them in the feed. If you're doing any kind of live content like Instagram Live or Facebook Live or TikTok Live, those ideas for that content can come from content you've already recorded. Just because you have a YouTube video about it doesn't mean people have seen it. That could be the same topic for a live stream. Same thing if you have a podcast or in your area. I would imagine there's people in your area who have podcasts. And then the last piece of this I have on the screen here, a first-time homebuyer webinar. Again, this may not be something for all of you, but it's something to consider. Doing either a webinar or a class, maybe in your office, again, sort of a longer form thing. Maybe you partner with a lender. The idea here is one piece of content, one idea turned into a lot of different pieces of content. And the beautiful part about all of this is that all of this content is helpful. It's not necessarily promotional, but it's really a great way to stay top of mind. Now, all of this takes time. And the business reason behind this, by the way, is that the leads you get from this type of content are so much better. When you're putting out content on a consistent basis, because remember that second C that we're talking about in this framework is consistency. When you're consistently putting out a piece of content, maybe it's 1 or 2 videos every single week, over the course of time, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to have people that reach out to you and say something like, I see you everywhere. I feel like I know you. I feel like you're in my head. And those kind of people, when they're ready to work with you, they are ready to work with you. They are not shopping around. They're not calling 12 different realtors. No, they know you or they think they know you. And now it's up to you to decide if you want to work with them. It's like the difference between attracting business versus chasing leads, right? Attracting versus chasing. And I can just tell you from experience, it's a pretty awesome way of doing business. So we've talked about clarity. We've talked about consistency. The third big C in this whole framework is connection. What makes you irresistible, right? What makes you stand out in a sea of sameness, not just visible? And part of this, again, is showing up and putting yourself out there. And I will say for any of you who struggle with that, the more you do it, the better you get. And that may not be what you want to hear, but creating content, creating video content, it's like a muscle. And I can always tell when people haven't done it because they'll come up to me and we'll take a selfie or we'll do a video and they're always like, I don't know where to hold the phone and I'm not sure the angle. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I don't know if I ever get used to how I look, how I sound. I was just talking to my husband about this recently. He's like, I can't stand to hear myself on video. I'm like, I said, I think most people are like that because how we sound is different than how other people hear us, right? One quick tip I will give you for getting better at video, and this is not on your screen, but if you struggle at all with creating and posting video publicly, is start creating video that you send to people one to one. One to one. So let's say later today you're meeting with a couple and you're going to take them to look at homes. I'm sure you're going to follow up with an email, but you could also create a quick video, right? Like, hey, Susie and Bob, it was so great chatting with you today. I loved, touring some homes. I'm going to send over that information later today, but hey, reach out to me if you have any questions. And you record that 30 seconds and you text it to them, right? Or maybe you go to Facebook and you see three of your friends, it's their birthday. Well, you could be one of the 25 people that writes on their page, happy birthday, which is like the most generic thing you could say. Or you could take out your phone and say, hey, Susie, I saw it was your birthday. Happy birthday. Just thinking of you. Hope you have an awesome day. Would love to see you sometime. Happy birthday. And you don't have to post that publicly. You can send that to Susie or send it to her through Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger. The more you get used to seeing yourself on camera and the more the feedback you get, because when you start to do that, by the way, you're going to start to hear things like, oh my gosh, that was so nice. Oh, it was so great to see you. Oh, that was really thoughtful. It's going to boost your confidence, right? And at the end of the day, again, connection's the name of the game. So I want to give you a few tips for video content, and I'm actually going to play a couple videos. So I'm just warning you now, so you can adjust your sound in a second here. Angela says, great idea. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm going to actually make sure the sound is on. So before I play this, I'm going to give a couple examples. I love using CapCut. CapCut is a super easy app. There's a free version, there's a paid version. And by the way, any of these tools, I'm going to mention a bunch of tools. I'm not affiliated with any of them. I'm not getting a kickback or anything. I use them. I think they're great. I use these for CapCut is great. If you've never used CapCut at all, you can log into CapCut on your phone or your computer, and there's templates, which is fantastic. So you can pick a template, you can add photos or videos, and it makes a video super fast. So I love doing an end of month recap. This is on my calendar for every month. I just do a little end of month recap, and so I'm going to share an example of what mine looked like. This is one I did this summer. This is great for day in the life. People love that. Like the boring stuff that you think, who cares? I'm just going to a home inspection. I'm just going to, I'm getting paperwork together. People love sort of that day in the life. You can use that to kind of make a little day in the life video. If you travel and you come home with 100 different photos, you can put them all into a quick 20-second video using CapCut. You go to a great conference or a great event, same thing. So I'm going to play this. I'm not going to probably play the whole thing because it's about a minute. I'll just play maybe 20 or 30 seconds of it just so you can see it. So I'm just going to make sure the sound is on and hopefully it's not too loud for you. Okay, let me turn this down just a little bit. And once it starts playing, if you guys would mind, just put in the chat yes if you can hear the sound or like give me a thumbs up on screen. I just want to make sure the sound's actually coming through. Okay, hold on.
The angels up in the clouds are jealous, knowing we found something so wild of the ordinary. You got me kissing the ground on the sanctuary. Shadow me when you talk. Oh Lord, we told me to die. The angels up in the clouds are jealous, knowing we found something so wild of the ordinary.
Okay.
The angels
Hold
up in
on. There we go. I won't play the whole thing, but uh hopefully you guys heard that okay. I saw a few yeses in the chat. Okay, let me know if anything stood out to you. If you were watching that, if there's anything that stood out to you in the video, I would just be curious. I didn't play the whole thing, but you probably saw a lot of New York stuff because we took a big New York trip in June. So again, I just share this because I just gave this whole, message about having one big idea and creating a lot of content. This type of video is not really part of like the one big idea. Like if my one big idea for June was first time homebuyers, you might go, well, this has nothing to do with that. And you're absolutely right. There is pieces of content that are going to have nothing to do with your main topic for the month, right? So when I sit down and batch record 4 or 5 or 6 videos that have to do with my main topic, I also know that there's going to be stuff that comes up throughout the month that have nothing to do with business, that are going to be, hey, I saw a beautiful sunset. I'm drinking a great glass of wine. I ran into a client. And those things are great things to just sort of sprinkle in, right? As an agent, you've got a listing, you've got an open house, you're going to sprinkle those in also. And so something like this, again, I honestly have it on my calendar every month. On the 30th of the month, I post a little end of month recap. I go into CapCut, I search for a template, I find it, I add my favorite photos, done. And it's a great way to show, again, a little bit of who you are without showing everything that's super private. Lauren says, I love the song and pics. Ah, thank you for that. The music, yeah. And there's something about music, right? Statue of Liberty, yes. There's something about music, right, that is really, really powerful. So, again, video doesn't always just have to be you talking and sharing. It could be something like this, kind of a photo montage. I will also say CapCut is great if you need to create something quick for a listing. I get asked all this all the time. People are like, Katie, I've got a bunch of photos. I need to make a quick listing video. Like, what's the easiest way to do it? CapCut is great for that. If you download the app, again, it's free, and you click a little button that says templates and you search real estate, and there's, I don't know, 1,000 different real estate templates. Pick one that you like, add your photos, make sure it's, you've got the right, information in there about the listing, but it's really quick and easy. You don't need to be a video editor, which is great. Okay, I want to share another app that I use. So there we go. So another app that I use is an app called Descript. So Descript is not actually an app. It's a tool I use on my computer. It's actually descript.com. Descript.com. So CapCut I use on my phone, but sometimes I use Descript because I like to use my computer. Sometimes just doing everything on my phone is sometimes tiring. So with Descript, you can upload a video to Descript on your computer. And if all your videos are on your phone, I have a Mac, I have an iPhone and a Mac, so I can kind of airdrop my videos to my computer back and forth. If you don't have that though, you could always upload your videos into like Google Drive or Dropbox, and then you can go on your computer and grab them. So there's lots of ways to do that. I like to use Descript because Descript has a bunch of AI tools. And I mentioned earlier this idea of like taking a long form video and like chopping it up or fixing things like taking out the ums and the ahs or fixing the sound. Descript will fix your sound really, really well. And I have on the screen here, one of the ways to connect with others is to improve your audio. So I am notoriously very low tech. Yes, I have mics and I have lights, but honestly, when I'm like recording videos, I'm like very low key. In fact, this video that I'm about to show you, I think my phone was propped up on a Kleenex box or something, right? Like it was pretty simple. So I'm going to show you two video clips. The first one, they're basically the same, but the second one is after I fixed the sound. I was recording a quick video to our members. I was packing up some planners and I recorded this in my kitchen. It was in the summer and you can hear the air conditioning. We have this air conditioning that sounds like a jet engine in our house. And so I'm going to play it so you can hear it. And then I'm going to play the second video where I uploaded the video into Descript and there's a little button that says studio sound and it fixed the sound and you're going to hear a big difference. Okay, so let's play the first one and then I'll play the second one. I'm packing up some planners. We're giving away some planners to our new members. This is our 18-month social media planner, and I just thought I would share with you. I'm packing up some planners. We're giving away some planners to our new members. This is our 18-month social media planner, and I just thought I would share with you. Okay. Whoops, there we go. Big difference, right? Big difference between like the jet engine and like not, the sound makes a big difference. So again, you can upload it into Descript. There's a lot of things Descript will do, but there is a little button that says Studio Sound, which will just fix the sound, which is fantastic. So if you've ever done videos where you're outside and the wind is whipping and people can't hear you, it fixes the sound. There's also an AI button that takes out the ums and the ahs and the pauses and just trims it up. And there's all kinds of cool things that it does. So there's a free version. There's also a paid version. Again, I'm not affiliated. I just think it's great. All right, let me look at our time here. Okay, cool. Again, if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to put your questions in the chat. All right. Okay, another tool that I love for, again, going from invisible to irresistible, I have been using a tool called Mini Chat now for about 2 years to help generate leads on Instagram. Now, this only works if you are putting out helpful content, okay? If you're just putting out just listed, just sold, you're not going to get typically a lot of leads because it's all promotional content. You have to have a balance between helpful content, things that are engaging and interesting, and also promotional content. So you may have seen this before on Instagram where you're scrolling and you see a post and that post says like, hey, comment below with this word and I'll send you my link to this. They have probably set up an AI automation and they might be using a tool called Mini Chat. So I actually have an example on the screen of how this works. That's really cool. Now, I don't do this for all of my posts, but maybe once or twice a month, I will set up a post like this. And the way it works, if you're at a place, I saw a lot of you taking your phone out, which is great. If you're at a place where you can take your phone out, what you're going to do is open up the camera and you're going to scan this QR code. Now, this QR code is going to take you to a post I posted back in September, but it's actually posted to the top of my Instagram. I pinned it to the very top. This is a post where I'm talking about all my free resources that I have available. So when you go to that post, what you're going to do, first of all, follow me on Instagram. Second of all, like and comment. And when you comment, you can say anything you want, but what you want to have is the word free somewhere in your comment. Okay, so if you just comment with the word free, what will happen is once you comment with the word free, you're going to get an automatic DM from me, an automatic direct message that says something like, hey, thanks so much. Click this link to get my free resources. You'll get something like that. Okay, now, when I do this in a class of like 50 people, every once in a while, Instagram hiccups. Okay, so if you did not get it right away, I can almost guarantee you're going to get it at some point. But if you still didn't get it, I'll give you my email at the end, and you can email me, and I'll send you the link to the free resources. But raise your hand if you scanned this and you got this in your DMs. Like just put your hand up or give me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Marty. I see you. Fantastic. Or you can always use the chat too. Um, okay, cool. Yeah, Jamie says, but much better sound. Oh yeah, on the video for sure. Yeah, thanks, Diane. So I'm just sharing this because when it comes to social media, as much as I like social media is rented ground. Social media is rented ground. And I don't have that on the screen here, but you might want to write it down as a reminder. It's social media is rented ground. We do not own it. And so to me, what this means is I don't want all my content and my community just living on Instagram. I don't want them all on Facebook or just any one platform. So occasionally from time to time, I try to think, how can I be intentional about taking people from Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever platform you're on? How can I be intentional about taking people from one place to my website, to my email list, to my CRM? And again, one of the reasons why this works for me is because I'm not overly promotional every single time. All my posts are not like, hey, work with me, sign up for this, da 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 da, right? It's just sort of sprinkled in. I really believe in kind of the 80-20 rule where like 80% of what you're talking about is helpful, it's informative, it's community driven, it's tips and tricks and things like that. And then the other 20% might be promotional, right, about your business. So having that balance. And again, that's through minichat.com. And the way this works, by the way, if you've never done this before, and this is a little bit of an advanced tip, but when you set up your account with MiniChat, there is a trial. I believe they have like a week or two free trial. And basically what you're doing is you're setting up an automation. So you can go in there and say, okay, anytime someone says this to me on social media, I want to send them this. Or if they comment on this particular post, I want to send them this. So just to bring this back to what I was talking about earlier, right? Remember when we talked about the 12 big ideas and having a theme for each month? And I gave that example of like, hey, maybe one month is first time homebuyers. So just use that as an example. If your theme for a month is first time home buyers and you've created a lot of content and you're kind of parsing it out and you're posting one or two videos a week for the month of March, they're all about first time home buyers. Maybe one or two of those videos at the very end, you might say, by the way, if you'd like my first time homebuyer guide to moving to Northwest Mississippi, like and comment below the word guide or like and comment below with the word home, and I'll send that to you. So it takes a little bit of strategic thinking to think about number one, what's the content going to be? And then, like, what's the ask? But I would imagine for a lot of you, you have things like checklists and guides and lists, especially if you've been around a long time. You probably have a lot of that content. And it might be a place to either repurpose it or again, drive people to your website, to email you, to your CRM. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions about that. Again, it's a little bit more advanced, but it's certainly something to think about, right? We've talked about connection, we've talked about clarity, we've talked about consistency, and this is just one more piece of the pie, right? One more piece of the pie. Okay. I want to give a few examples here. I always love to give examples from people and agents that we've worked with in different markets because I feel like sometimes in real estate, it's easy to kind of get into your own bubble and your own world. And so I've got three examples of some folks that we've worked with. These are all different examples. This is the Seattle real estate team, Team Diva Real Estate. They are out in the Seattle area. I have known them quite a long time, at least a decade or maybe even longer. They have a great blog, they have a great YouTube channel, they put out a lot of great content on social media. I think one of the things that really, really works for them is they are definitely not everyone's cup of tea. They are consistently authentic, they're very active in social justice, and they're very true to who they are, right? They also really invest in longer form content, blog content, video content, YouTube, Instagram. They've had a great email newsletter for quite some time, and they really diversify their content. So even though, as I said earlier, I don't think you have to be everywhere, over the course of time, what they've realized is they really spend time where their community is at. And they've created a great community. They call it Diva Land. They've got some great, like I said, online presence. They also have some great offline events. They do a lot of client events throughout the year, which I think is a big opportunity right now. I think there's a lot of people who, again, as much as I love social media, I think some people are kind of pulling back a little bit from social media. I know for me, like I'm leaning into more face to face if possible. And so I think if you can kind of bridge the gap between online and offline, there's a lot of opportunities there. So again, they're out in Seattle, Team Diva Real Estate. If you Google them, you'll be able to see all of their content. Another great example, this is Joanne Powell. Joanne is a realtor in Vancouver, Washington. She's someone who's been in our academy a long time. She's come to our masterminds. And the reality is for a lot of agents, last year was a really rough year, and it's still rough for a lot of folks. And she actually doubled her business last year between 2024 to 2025. She confided in me it's one of her best years ever. And when I look to see some of the things she's done, especially from a social media and content perspective, she showed up consistently on social media more than ever before. Now, she always posted consistently, but one of the things that she definitely got more intentional about is getting herself on camera. And she'll probably be the first to say she does not like getting on camera. It is not her strong suit. But at least a couple times a month, she is showing up. And I'm so proud of her because she's showing up as she is, right? So more straight to camera. She started doing something on Mondays called Did You Know, where she's doing kind of like a, hey, did you know about this? Did you know about this? Different things related to insurance or home inspections or the buying and selling process. She also has the budget to do some professional videos. So even though she does videos herself, being on camera, for her listings, she has invested in professional videography for her listings, and for her, that's worked. It's like having a balance between both. And then she started putting out a email newsletter sometime last year. She puts out a great email newsletter once a month that basically links to a lot of her other content. It's really helpful. It's very personal because it's her, and that has help grow her business tremendously as well. And then the third example I want to give is a good friend of mine, Pam. Pam is out in Portland. I'm just realizing I'm giving all these West Coast examples, but next time I come back, we'll do more East Coast examples. But Pam is a yogi. She is huge into yoga. And I was actually just in New York recently. I was speaking at Inman Connect, and Pam is one of my Broadway buddies. We went to a couple shows together when we were in New York. But what I love about Pam is just like I mentioned with Joanne and the Team Diva Real Estate, very authentic. And I realize that word authentic is such a buzzword, but it just means she just leans into who she is and who she's not. When you look at her content, it's a little bit of yoga, it's a little bit of her dogs. She loves to go hiking. In fact, she will do a market report. I think she does it once or twice a month, where she will go on a hike and she'll do her market report like at the top of a mountain or at the end of a hike. And she'll bring like a little microphone with her, and she'll do this whole market report video as she's out and about. And that's just her. She's part of the American Dream TV team. She has a really strong presence on Instagram, YouTube, and probably not surprising, she also has a great monthly email newsletter. And again, not all things to all people, which it's so refreshing when you get to the point in life where you're like, I don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. It's a beautiful thing, right? So I know I've talked about a lot of apps and a lot of tools. And one thing I would say is there's not an app or tool that will replace you. There are a lot of great tools. I've mentioned Descript as a great video editing tool. I've mentioned MiniChat as a great lead generator from social media. I've talked about CapCut, also another great video editing tool. Obviously, there's tools like ChatGPT. I'm sure a lot of you are using ChatGPT or Gemini to help come up with ideas and kind of brainstorm and things like that. But again, at the end of the day, there's not an app or tool that can replace you. And I kind of said this in jest at the very beginning, but if you missed it, because I know a couple of you came in a little bit later, which is all good. This is all being recorded, by the way, so you can watch it if you missed the beginning. At the end of the day, one of the ways to stand out in a sea of sameness, to be irresistible and not feel invisible is, again, for us to see you and to hear you. There is nothing like that. And I said this in the beginning, I want to see you. I want to see and hear from you, not the AI version of you. I know it's really easy these days to create this, sort of like AI twin that like looks and sounds like you. And it's very tempting, but I want to see you. I want to see your wrinkles and your gray hair and, all the imperfections. So just remember that there's not an app or tool that can replace you. If I were to go to your profile right now and scroll through your page, if I were to take the logos off all of your content, would I still know it's you? Would I still know it's you? Right? And so that's the power of showing up. And again, the good news is this doesn't have to take over your whole life. We're not talking about posting 12 videos a day. We're talking about one or two a week. And again, as I said in the very beginning, consistency is the name of the game. I always love to share some of my favorite books. And these are three of my favorite go-to books, especially with business and marketing. Who moved my cheese? I would be curious how many of you read that. If you have read that in the past, feel free to wave or give me a thumbs up, or feel free to put it in the chat. This is like an oldie but goodie. Who moved my cheese? I feel very old saying this. Probably came out 30 years ago. And it's a great little book. It's a little 90-page parable about a little mouse whose cheese got moved. And boy, we had our cheese moved in the last year, in the last 10 years, right? And so it's just a great reminder about change. And, that saying, the only constant in life is change, right? Jamie says, I read the Who Moved My Cheese and I need to read it again. Yeah, I definitely recommend rereading it for sure. Lauren says, yes, the cheese book. Dana, so good. Yeah, for sure. The second book I'd recommend, this came out probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it's a great book. It's called Known. It's written by Mark Schaefer. Mark has written actually a lot of great marketing books. He's a keynote speaker, and he wrote a book about what does it take to be known in any industry. And he has a real estate example in there, but he talks about all different kinds of industries. And it's just a fascinating read because it really is kind of a scientific approach to like what does it take to get known, to be the one who's like, oh yeah, you got to call so and so, like they're the one to talk to, right? So definitely recommend that. That's one of my favorite books. And then the third one I recommend is called Smart Brevity. I actually read this last year and I read the book and I listened to the audiobook. Okay, this was like a double whammy because I do like audiobooks from time to time. Smart Brevity is all about how do you come across stronger and more succinct in your writing, whether it's email, whether you're writing a postcard, you're writing a flyer, you're writing a social media post. I think this is so relevant today because a lot of us are using ChatGPT to come up with ideas, to come up with captions. The problem is now a lot of people all sound the same. Like, I don't know about you, but if I'm scanning social media, I can tell pretty quickly when someone's used AI to write something, right? And again, I love it. I use AI for a lot of things. I love AI for some of the video editing stuff that I do. I love it to come up with ideas and to kind of almost be like a brainstorming buddy. But we don't want to just blindly copy and paste. And we all learned this, right? When ChatGPT came out 3 years ago, we all learned this. Don't blindly copy and paste. We want to be, obviously aware of fair housing and everything. But Smart Brevity is a great book to just help if you've ever struggled a little bit with being as succinct as possible. We know the words that we say are so important, so critical. So definitely recommend that. It's also a quick read, and you can also listen to it on Audible if you prefer. Um, Last couple things. As I said in the beginning, there are a lot of agents who are putting out a lot of content, and a lot of it, unfortunately, is kind of mediocre. And their mediocrity is your opportunity. There's a huge opportunity. I was just on Instagram this morning. I scrolled through, I'm not kidding, the same post from 10 different agents. And it's not the fault of the agents, really. They probably signed up for some service that is like auto posting for them. And what they don't realize is that like that same post is going out across, the interwebs. And again, there's nothing wrong with, having some content scheduled or maybe you have an assistant or, whatever it might be. But there's such an opportunity in 2026 to stand out by sharing who you are, sharing some helpful tips. And one thing I would also say too, when it comes to your content, one of the ways to kind of not be mediocre with your content, and this is something that gets better over the course of time, is instead of more information, tell us how you really feel about something, right? So instead of like, oh, here's the, biggest tip if you're moving to Northwest Mississippi, maybe it's more of, hey, if my mom were moving here, let me tell you what I would tell her, right? If my best friend were relocating, Or if my best friend had her house on the market right now, this is exactly what I would tell them. So that kind of energy is what gets people to lean in, right? And gets people to connect with you and ultimately turns into business. You aren't too old and it's not too late, right? Because I know there's probably some of you who are like, well, that all sounds great, but you're not too old and it's not too late. All right. Just keep that in mind. Last two things, and then I'd love to open it up to questions because we've got about 8 or 9 minutes left. Um, I'm just looking at the chat here. Just hopped on Amazon and ordered books. Oh, yay, Jamie, you'll have to let me know what you think of them. You know, I'm sure it'll take you a little bit of time to read them, but like please reach out on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you're at. Um, the too old and too late thing I have to work on. Yeah, you're not alone. And I'm saying this because I would imagine there's a fair amount of you, I mean myself included, who think, my gosh, like, you know, am I too old? Whatever it might be. You aren't too old. It's not too late. Okay. So two other things, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but something I say at the end of all my trainings, and that is done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. And if you take away anything from what I said this last hour, please take away that. Take a picture, if anything, just to save it to your phone so you have it. I have on my desk a little sign. I don't know if you can see this that says done is better than perfect because I have to remind myself of that every single day. Progress, not perfection. It's really easy to come to a class like this and like you get inspired and then you go about your life and business and then your notes kind of, fall to the wayside or you think, well, this sounds great, but I've got this to do and I'll do this next week. I just would encourage you try to pick one or two things I talked about today that really resonated with you and implement them immediately. Okay, the last thing I just want to say really quick, I want to make sure I give you that QR code again for my content grid. So a lot of you downloaded it earlier when I shared that QR code, but if you didn't get a chance or it wasn't working or whatever, take out your phone, scan that. You can also go to katielance.com/content grid. We just updated this recently, and it's a really great resource for content ideas. What you're going to get when you scan that, you're going to get to a page. It's going to ask for your name and email. Put your name and email in, and then the content grid will come right to your phone, but it'll also get sent to your email. If you don't get it right in your inbox, check your spam, check your promotions tab. You know how email is. Like I look at my phone now, there's like 12 different folders for where my email could go. So it'll be there. But if for some reason you don't get it, you can always email me, katie@katielance.com. I answer all my own email. It's me. It's not a bot or anything. It's me. So you can always email me. And then you can always connect with me on social. And as I said in the very beginning, would absolutely love to connect with you. Please message me on social and say, hey, I was there. I was in your class. Like I would love to connect and follow you back. Okay, I think we've got 7 minutes left. So let me know, what did you think? Did you enjoy this? Give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat if you enjoyed this, what you thought, and also what questions you have. This is your opportunity to ask me anything. I'm sure the folks at North of Mississippi might want to unmute if they like. I don't know if Amanda's on here. You can unmute if she'd like. But if any of you have any questions, please type them in the chat. Would happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I'm going to see if I missed anything here. Donna says everything seems so overwhelming because of so many ideas and apps. Yeah, it absolutely can, and I appreciate your honesty with that. There are a lot of options. A lot of people are like, just tell me exactly what to do. And it's hard to just tell someone exactly what to do because everyone's different. Everyone has a different personality, everyone has a different market, everyone has different bandwidth as far as what they can do, what they can't do. So, you start with one or two things, you go from there. And honestly, I would really say also, if any of you are feeling really overwhelmed by like the idea of planning content and distributing content and the apps, the first place you can actually start is just, I always say be a noticer, meaning take a few minutes a day, take 5 or 10 minutes a day, scroll through your feed and notice what people are posting and look for things that make you laugh, something that's interesting, and take a minute to leave a meaningful comment. A meaningful comment is something that's at least 4 words. Okay, so it's not just great pic or happy birthday. It's wow, that's a great picture, Donna. Where did you take that? Or, happy birthday, Susie. What do you have going on today? Sometimes if we just start by noticing what other people are posting and really being intentional, doesn't mean we have to spend 2 hours doom scrolling, but take 5 minutes a day. I do this every day. I'm like drinking my cup of coffee. I call it Focus Five, where I take 5 minutes, I scroll through my feed, and I look for 5 posts that speak to me, and I leave some sort of meaningful comment. that's a tiny little thing that you can do that just helps to start to just be intentional to build those relationships. So I know I didn't really talk about that in this talk, but that was a little bonus tip. Jamie says, yes, I did enjoy. Which social media platform do you love the most? Ooh, that's a good question. Gosh, I don't know. I feel like, because I run a social media company, I feel like they're sort of all my children. Like I love them all differently for a lot of different ways. Probably still Instagram, even though Instagram gives me a few gray hairs with how their algorithm works. I've loved Instagram for a long time. I've actually been on Instagram for like 15 years. I only know this because my youngest was a baby and now he's 15. And anyways, yeah, probably Instagram. And I love that I still love photos. I love sharing photos and videos. And I feel like that is really conducive to Instagram. So that's probably my favorite if I had to pick one. Yeah, I love Instagram. And I'm, been around a long time. I remember when Instagram was just like photos and the biggest decision you had to make on Instagram was like, what filter should I pick? And now there's, 27 different things you could do. But yeah, it's fun. I also think TikTok's fun also. I didn't really talk about that on here a whole lot, but TikTok's really fun also. And Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, all that good stuff. Okay, awesome. We've got just a couple minutes left. Any other questions or feedback? Let me know in the chat. Again, what did we think? Did we like this? Is there something that I didn't answer that you had a burning question on? Feel free to type it in the chat. Um, we have another class coming up as well, and I don't have that date right in front of me, but I believe it is coming up next month, which is exciting. And that class, if I remember correctly, is going to be all about Canva and AI, I believe also, which I'm excited about. March 18th. Okay, Dana, thank you. I appreciate that. Awesome. Dana, did you have anything else that you wanted to say as we get to the end here today?
Think
I
what
don't. I'm not sure if Amanda, are you still on here?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
on. I think that's all, unless anybody else has any questions. But y'all make sure that you tell people about this class. We are having another one next month on a completely different topic, and we will have this. It is recorded with Katie's permission and blessing. We'll have that uploaded on the YouTube channel sometime next week. So if you know of somebody who did miss this, but they would really benefit from it, be sure to share it with them and invite people to come next month so we can have an even bigger crowd. So we appreciate you, Katie. Thank you so much for getting on with us. And unless somebody else has a question, I think we're good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda, and everyone. I see all the comments. Thank you, Kitsy. Thank you, Danya. I appreciate it. And I look forward to our class next month. And if you have questions, feel free to message me or email me. So thank you
Awesome.
guys so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.